General Alan Langer, the captain at scrum half. The forwards, Guisset the Frenchman, Clark, Nutley, Mercer, Busby, yet another former Saint, and Tawera Nickau completes the lineup. He's the lock forward. And on the bench it's McCurry, Masella, Wood and Noon. The coach in his final year at Wilderspool, Darrell van der Velde. Well, the Saints, they are missing their two leading scorers, Long and Newlove, but they have this team: Stewart, Hall, Iro, Hoppy, Sullivan, Martin and Wellens. That's not too bad. The forwards, Nicol, Hyam for Cunningham, MacDonald for Fairley, who dropped into the second row to cover for Shields, Stankovic to cover for Joint, and Sculthorpe then is the captain tonight. And the bench, Yonkers, Cruikshank, Bennett and Edmondson. The coach is Ian Millward. Match referee is Robert Connolly. The Saints lost consecutive games for the first time under Ian Millward at Hull last Saturday night. Will it be 3 defeats in a row here against their near neighbours, the Warrington Wolves?
The key factor to Warrington, perhaps coming up with another win here.
So we're underway, and Warrington will have first use of the football here in the opening set of 6. They're in possession, and this is Danny Nutley, their prop forward. Sculthorpe is there though. He will lead the side tonight. MacDonald also, the tall prop forward, signed from Hull, and he gets another big hit in. Does MacDonald. He has waited a long time for his opportunity. Clark then spills the ball inside to Nickau, who breaks the first line of defence. And it was a good job that Fairley and Iro were there.
Great run from the loose forward. Nickau back to his best form. They really are on song at the moment to Warrington.
Yes, they are on a bit of a roll, form-wise. That's a good bouncing kick. It's difficult this for Steve Hall. He manages to get hold of it, keep hold of it, and a good chase from Warrington. Well, they know there are so many St Helens stars out of action tonight that this is their glorious, glorious chance. They have won only 5 times in 29 attempts here at Knowsley Road since 1973.
Well, they can't be kidded into it, and Ian Millward knows that it's going to be a tough encounter. It always is against this Warrington outfit. They take it to him, but oh, great tackle there, it had to be.
Busby on Stankovic. Quick play the ball. Here's Mick Hyam filling the considerable shoes tonight of one Kieran Cunningham. Last tackle here for St Helens. Hoppy, the dummy half, to Sculthorpe, to Martin, who wasn't fit against Hull last week, no doubt about that. And the kick is a good one. And eventually it's claimed, and Alan Hunt is all wrapped up by Paul Wellens. A great hit from Martin, a great chase from Wellens.
Well, it was good pressure by Warrington, but they offloaded to it. Sculthorpe should have been the kicker. Remember, Ian Millward, the St Helens coach, has made it quite clear that Tommy Martin, not 100% fit, would not be kicking in general play. He had no option there. Sculthorpe had to offload. And as it turned out, it was a super kick. All made better by the wonderful chase by Paul Wellens. And that's a good dropout too.
Martin collected it, gives it then to Sonny Nicol. Warrington racing from their own line, and they didn't give Nicol too much room.
Well, Warrington, of course, said they cannot be lulled into a false sense of security, and the fact that St Helens having so many injured players out. Believe you me, this St Helens side will not throw the towel in. They never do.
No, in the face of adversity, they normally come up with a 5-star performance. And here they go now, moving it on.
That'll be a knock-on.
Knocked forward by Briers. The referee will wipe the tackle count, and he does, because Hoppy has it for St Helens. Oh, that was a poor attempt. And Hoppy almost through. It was a dreadful attempt by Ian Sibbett at the tackle.
Just didn't get low enough in Sibbett there. They've got to do that to Hoppy.
And Stankovic dancing through the defence. The Warrington defence, I'm afraid, in this set of 6 is all at sea. Hyam to Sculthorpe. It goes wide to Martin. Martin further wide to Stewart. And Stewart is over in the corner. And he
got it down. That's a wonderful effort there by the fullback, Stewart.
He's not given it yet, though, Robert Connolly.
It will do, though, don't worry. He's nowhere near the touchline or the flag. This is a wonderful effort. Talk about strength. Smiles underneath, and look at that. That is TRY. He was moving all the time, and therefore the video referees should give this. No doubt it's TRY.
And it is. The try is given to Anthony Stewart. The only game that young Anthony Stewart missed this year was the Challenge Cup final, and that's his 9th try of the campaign.
Good build-up. It was Stankovic that got them so far. The good link out wide. The delayed pass. Look at the dummy runner, which was barely. But this had to be scored. Wonderful effort from the fullback, Anthony Stewart. Watch for the dummy runner coming through, and it just checks. See how they just checked off, and they couldn't stop him. That is a great try by the fullback. What a start for the Saints.
Yes, plenty of injuries for Saints, but doesn't matter who Ian Millwood puts in the jerseys at the moment. They come up trumps for him, or at least so it seems, but there's a long, long way to go yet. Paul Sculthorpe with the conversion attempt, difficult one. He's given it a chance, just wide of the posts. So it stays at St Helens 4, Warrington 0. The try had to be scored by Stewart, but Steve-O, in the build-up to that try, the Warrington defence, frankly, was awful.
Yeah, they stood off, and as I mentioned before, it was the big second rower, Stankovic, that took them to the point where they could switch, get it out wide there. But that needed scoring. Great effort.
Well, their leading point scorer, Sean Long, their leading try scorer, Paul Newlove, both out for the rest of the year. As I say, it doesn't seem to matter who puts on these white jerseys at the moment for St Helens. They always tend to come up with something rather special, and Anthony Stewart has done exactly that. And remember, they lost consecutive games for the first time under Ian Millwood at Hull last Saturday. And that is a record that he had been jealously guarding. Saints now have the penalty. Interference at the play the ball.
Well, Robert Connolly had already shouted held, and then they continued on with it, Nutley trying to turn him. Not happy with it, the prop forward. Now it's vital that Warrington just make sure that they plug these holes.
Paul Sculthorpe. A flat run, and it's opened up for him almost. It was a good job that Sibbett got to him that time. Here is Sean Hoppy now.
Plenty of yardage that they're gaining from the dummy half. First and second markers very slow at Warrington at the moment.
It's Hyam, now it's with Martin, and here is David Furley, and he dumps the ball back to Martin on the loop. Martin, a good ball back on the inside to Iro, and Iro with all the strength in the world. Eventually they get to him, but he's released the pass. This is Nicky Hyam, and he's just halted underneath the post. 2 tackles remaining this set of 6. Saints sniffing something with Wellens. Wellens still, and Wellens is held up now, half a metre short. Desperate defence from Warrington. McDonald! What did I say? Desperate defence, it wasn't there. McDonald marks his comeback to the Saints team with a try. He played opposite Jerome Guisset for Scotland against France on Tuesday. And McDonald, only his 2nd try of the season.
It paid off, keeping the ball alive. It was a good run from the hooker Hyam that put him through. Wellens took him close. But this is awful defence. Look at that. There were 4 men at the play the ball, and they were just sucked in. Simple try. This is becoming a nightmare defensively for Daniel van der Velde, the Warrington coach. That is just pathetic defence from the Warrington Wolves.
He came to St Helens from the Boulevard during the winter, and he hasn't really established himself. He has missed the last 7. He got a broken jaw, to be fair to him, against Halifax in May, and certainly hasn't helped in his settling in here at Knowsley Road. But that was a simple try, because the defence just melted away in the end. They seem to have covered up for 5 tackles on the last. They disappeared. Sculthorpe has the extra. It's 10-0. The world champions are not world champions for nothing, and Darrell van der Velde, confident yesterday, wonder what he's feeling now.
I'll tell you what he's feeling sick. Look at this. 4 come to the open side, flicks it out. Pathetic. That's the only word that I can even conjure up for a defensive effort like that. 4 at the play the ball going one way. Come on.
the brightest start for the Warrington Wolves. Mercer in with the tackle on Nicol. Here now is Anthony Sullivan. The Welsh international hasn't scored in 6.
That's a knock-on.
And they forced the error. Well,
Mikhail.
that's better for Warrington.
Well, it really shouldn't have been offloaded there. Sullivan didn't need to pass that ball, and Hyam wasn't expecting it. I suppose you could say that they always should. Well, the Wolves need something desperate.
They do, and Langer may be the man to provide it. He gives it to Briers. Briers runs at this defence. Stewart got him low down, Stankovic upstairs. Now then, Dean Busby attacks the defensive line again. Now Donald and Sculthorpe stand firm.
Will Langer go for the little kick? Worked so well for Queensland against New South Wales last weekend.
Good drive in by the French international, Guisset. Langer is lurking. John Clark is the dummy half. He'll give it to Langer. There it is. He just hands it on though to Briers. Briers then back on the inside to Nutley. And there was no way through Nutley because Fairley was there.
Well, I think he nearly lost it there, Nutley, and it came off the chest of Fairley.
They're going the short side. St Helens. But Kidwell forced into touch.
Well, a complete lack of ideas, and I'm sure that is what's going through the brain of Darrell van der Velde. Had a golden opportunity there that took the short side, nowhere to go. Kidwell bundle into touch. Iro, far too much strength in the end. An opportunity gone there for the Wolves. I fully expected that Alan Langer would have gone for the little kick to apply the pressure.
Well, all he's done so far, Steve-O, is just hand the ball on.
Good work from Penny there.
It's been a busy old week for him, of course, Alan Langer. Sunday morning, our time, he was playing State of Origin for Queensland and having an absolute blinder. Well, look at the way, the possession.
Well, he'd have the same jet lag, wouldn't he? Oh, that was a dangerous pass from Iro.
Got away with it, though. Here's Sculthorpe. And he just puts the hand in the face of Danny Nutley, but fortunately for Warrington, there were reinforcements there in the shape of Sibbitt.
Well, Sculthorpe could have been penalised there. He walked off the mark from where the tackle had taken place.
Hyam bullets the pass to Tommy Martin, who's gone for a 40-20. He won't get it, though. That will skip all along the ground and will run dead in goal, so Warrington will bring it back for a tap on the 20. Well, they've conceded, Warrington, 50 points or more on their last 3 visits here. They also lost 80 points to 0 in a Regal Trophy match, a famous one because that marked the end of Brian Johnson as their coach. That's awesome.
That is just pathetic yet again. Well, they're still on the coach. They're still travelling down the road here.
Looking down the records as well, they've lost 66-14 in the past, 60-10. Since their last win at Nosey Road, 21-11 in January 1994.
Well, Langer inspired the Queenslanders. Can he do it for the Wolves? They desperately need something.
Well, they maybe will find something here with Alan Hunt. Oh, a great ball from Hunt. And a lovely run from Lee Penny. Nick Hyams after it. Sibbitt is there in support. Sibbitt for the corner. He'll get there. Now then, I think he'll hand this on to the video referee. There's a doubt whether Sibbitt was in touch.
Check his footage touch. And secondly, just double check me if he made the line. I think he made the line. We'll just check his feet, please.
He wants the feet in touch checked, and he wants the fact that Sibbitt actually made it to the try line.
This will be no try. The foot, now then, does it hit it, or is it still in air?
He's short of the line anyway.
Yeah, he's short. What a great tackle, though, from Mick Hyam. That is an absolutely superb cover defence from the hooker. This will be NOTRY, you can guarantee that. I've lost my house a couple of times over the past few weeks, but I'm confident it's NOTRY.
And it is. But the encouraging thing for Warrington and Ian Sibbitt is that at last they've got at the other end of the field.
Wonderful break there.
Fabulous
Interchange, great pass there from Alan Hunt. And Lee Penny, he knew he didn't have the legs to get over. And Sibbitt went through. What a tackle from the hooker.
Well, remember last time we were here and Anthony Sullivan was plonking the ball down in the corner at the other end and Brian Carney came up with the tackle. That was just as good from Mickey Hyam. And that's why St and the Halifax Blue Sox for his services. St Helens won the argument in the end.
Well, he's paid a lot back. Good kick from Sculthorpe.
He was looking for a 40-20.
Just a little bit short in the end. Only a metre short. Great tactics, though. The one thing that has surprised me, that's 2 kicks, not from this fella, but from Tommy Martin. That shows perhaps that Martin is getting back into the swing of things a lot quicker than his coach perhaps anticipated.
Well, there was little doubt that Martin wouldn't be taking the kicks for goal this evening. But the kicking game of Tommy Martin is such an integral part of his contribution to the St Helens side. And
well,
he is getting back to normal, there's no doubt.
Certainly is, but it'll take him another 3 or 4 games to get really into top form. But I must say, Eddie, that is one of the best cover tackles I've seen for a long, long time. And that has gone nowhere.
I think he was knocked by St Helens' arm. No, the touch judge has signed that it's a head and feet to Saints.
Busby is claiming that it was Iro that shoved it away. They have some claim as well. Now, I think you've got to be fair that Busby was trying to offload. Gets back to that little argument that Eddie and I was having yesterday.
Yes, that's a perfect example of it there.
Yeah, it certainly was.
You have to ask the referees, if we allow that sort of thing, to make the decision whether he was playing for the ball or the ball and the man or just the man.
Well, it's not
I think it's too contentious.
Well, it's not in our rules as yet,
thank the Lord. Otherwise we'd be arguing all year. Well, we do that anyway. Sculthorpe, Stankovic is through. He's got Hoppy there. Oh, they've blown the try. And Danny Nutley is absolutely furious with the Warrington defence, I can tell you. When that ball was flung forward and Warrington got out of jail, you might see Nutley here. He missed the tackle on Stankovic. No, we won't see him. He's just out of the frame. But Nutley was furious.
There's every right to be. Not the only one out there in the Primrose and Blue.
This fellow will be furious as well, Darrell van der Velde.
They'll also know that he's bombed a great chance, but only because Hyam's cover tackle was, well, out of the top draw. That was sensational.
Rob Smythe for Warrington. Here is Gary Mercer, who I understand is one of the applicants for Darrell van der Velde's job that becomes vacant at the end of this year.
I think that will be a big list as well.
Here's Langer. That's Dean Busby. Great hit from Stankovic. Last tackle for Warrington. John Clark. Langer, first kick, cross field. All onside, says the touch judge.
It's a good one as well.
Great take by Sullivan.
Oh, it was like plucking an apple off the tree, wasn't it? Come to me. Not a pick drop.
They have got such confidence. St Helens.
Back on.
Good job that Breer's got the tackle in.
I'm not so sure that that's an advantage. The official has allowed play on. And, well, the knock-on was about 10 metres further downfield. There's a bit of a problem for Breers, I feel.
Yes, he took a bang in making that tackle, but his tackle dislodged the ball. Warrington then in possession. Here's Langer running at the defence. Good pass, but as Kidwell collected it, he lost his footing completely. Now then, Langer again. Nickau trying to skirt round, and Stankovic stuck to the task well. Breers is there. Langer, is the little fella getting to the pace of the game? Busby put the ball down. Hoppy is away. He's got the legs on Breers. And Mercer won't catch him. Hoppy with the third try for Saints. It's just too easy.
The intercept yet again. An opportunity goes begging for the Wolves. Should have scored. Langer put it through. He tried to get the ball out wide. It came off the dummy runner, who did not anticipate it. Desperation in the end, but Hoppy, he has all the speed he needs. They're bossing this. You see there that it was Busby that really should have gone for the dummy runner. Langer expected him to get it. He had his arms raised. Why they do that is beyond belief. Raise your arms, the defence feels that you're not going to get the ball anyway. And Hoppy carts it 70 metres downfield.
Well,
they're in control.
He has been in the pack for the last 2 matches, Sean Hoppy, and a try in last year's 47-34 win at Warrington. And as you can see, try scorer in consecutive games now for the Saints, Sean Hoppy. That's only his 15th try, by the way, for St Helens. He's well down on his strike rate previously during his illustrious career, Sean Hoppy. But he won't be worrying about that just for the moment. He'll be worrying whether Sculthorpe can add the extras. And the answer is in the affirmative. 16-0. Saints off to a flyer.
Missed opportunities. Daryl van der Velde will know that, but it is no excuse. We expected that the combination of Alan Langer and Lee Briers would be far too strong for Wellens and Tommy Martin. It has not proved that way yet. They have not got into this game. Normally Langer takes control of a game. He gets it by the scruff of the neck and controls it. Not yet.
Well, I'm sure it's been a busy old week for Alan Langer, and he only arrived back in this country, I think, on Thursday morning. So not too much time to recover from the long journey home, but I presume he would have flown like you, first class.
Well, after his game last weekend, I think he demanded.
Tommy Martin, that's a 40-20.
That's great stuff. Wonderful kick from Sculthorpe.
Oh, was it Sculthorpe? My apologies.
It certainly was.
I had it as Tommy Martin.
By the way, it's the Saints head and feed, and it's going to be more pain for this Wolves defence. Great tactics. They have just never allowed the Wolves to get into this match. Apart from the break from Lee Penny, and the no try given to Sibbott, courtesy of that high-end tackle. Well, he looks concerned, but I'm sure that Ian Millwood will be very, very happy indeed.
He will if they get over for another try here, and Ira with all the strength. McCurry on to marshal this defence, I think. Here now is Nicol. Driving run from Sonny Nicol.
They'll get it over the advantage line with so much ease.
Martin, here's Wellens. Sculthorpe off. He drops it. Otherwise, that was another one on the board.
That was a try gone begging, definitely. But the Wolves' defence, well, they allow. Watch him just stop here. Sculthorpe had it, and Briers was just hanging back. They've got to move out of the blocks, get into the faces of these St Helens ball carriers. Well, we talk about solid defence. This is, well, paper mache.
Sibbott only as far as Martin with Sculthorpe. Sibbott's picked up and dropped to the deck. Oh, it's great defence. Iro and Fairley.
Well, they take the leaf out of the book in Bradford last night. That was superb defence. And I bet that Ian Millwood's getting the message down. Bradford nil them. We want to do the same.
Well, the way they're playing, they might. Kidwell with the run. John Clark again is the dummy half. They'll go down the short side. He had to run round Iro twice.
I'm not so sure that the Warrington player played that. Stepped over it and missed it.
There's McCurry. Here is Langer. A kick from Langer, but straight down the middle. And that's going to bounce away and dead. Nothing in that.
Oh, has it? Oh,
yes.
Just.
Get him on side, get him on side, get him on side.
Yep, on the line is out.
Okay.
So here comes Steve Hall now for St Helens. Well, only Wigan, of course, have won here this year. 29-28 2 weeks ago. Hoppy has dropped it. McCurry's got it back. The ball has eventually found its way to Lee Penny. And Lee Penny has found a little gap, but it's only temporary.
Did well there, did the winger.
Penalty to Warrington here.
Good play by Lee Penny, who used quite a few of his own players to thread his way through. Interference there. Hoppy, the culprit.
Now then, Nutley to drive it in. Warrington desperately needs something from this attack. Clark, McCurry, Langer, and wide it goes. Mercer tried to cut inside. opponent. Here's Langer. Gisay. Good defence from St Helens this.
Langer's shouting for it on the blind.
And he's got it. And there's the dab through, and he bounces up. And he bounces up. And Clark got a very high tackle in there.
Was he offside? No.
It was on Wellens.
Good refereeing there by Robert Connolly. He saw it well. Well, it's St Helens side. They just amaze me. They just keep it around and keep moving it. And what was that for?
Tackle was complete, and he came up on. He succumbed to the tackle, Jerome. That's what said.
Well, how was the tackle completed there? He came right out of Sibbitt's attempt.
Yes, he got that wrong.
Did he ever? Well, I praised him 1 second.
TBK! TBK! Right, got it!
Here is Paul Sculthorpe. Pops it back to Stankovic.
He's your man! He's your man!
Well, this is really roll up the sleeves time for Warrington. Otherwise, they're going to be absolutely just run off their feet. They've got to tough it out.
Hoppy disentangled himself from Breer's legs. Sculthorpe showed it. Oh, and this Warrington defence is hanging back, and it's allowing St Helens to run.
They're going far too high. That's better. That's got to be a knock-on.
Well, Tommy Martin tried to flick that and push it, and he was lying horizontal on the deck.
It's rather cute with a piece of grass on the temple, doesn't it?
He had Alan Langer lying all over his legs.
Will that be the fashion? Maybe. It's gone now. Just a fleeting moment.
Well, what a blistering start to this match St Helens have made. 16-0, 24 and a half minutes. Phil Clark, they are very impressive no matter who wear the jerseys.
They are, they play total rugby, don't they? Every player expected to have the skills of a forward or back, and really Mickey Hyam had no right to track back and catch two of the Warrington backs and save that try. But I think from Warrington's point of view, they're rather lucky that St Helens haven't built such a lead that they could have declared at this stage, and at 16-0 they are still in with a hope. However, they do dramatically need to improve and hang on to the ball when they get it.
Nick Howe's pass finds Gisay. The scrambling defence comes back again. Burley, who is having a magnificent season. Now then, Nutley, who will never turn it in.
Well, that's the way to run onto the ball. He'll lift the spirits. He's got to show the way.
This is the last, though, for Warrington. Watch for the kick from Langer. There it is. Nick Howe's after it, but that's too deep.
Idea was good, far too strong. Carl van der Velde. Not much expression on the face. It's very deadpan. He needs a bit of, not a pan, he needs a kettle. They want some steam on each side. Get the engine room working, but they're not now.
Well, I hope you made head to tail of that. I'm still trying to come to terms with it myself. This is, I think I know what you mean. Fairly.
After 11 years, surely you must know.
Wellens.
Oh, look at this.
The queuing up. Hyam. Good tackle back in the end. It was from Mercer. They're in disarray, though, Warrington. Absolute disarray.
They're running through them at will. Oh, a bit of a lash out there.
It's got to be a penalty. Kidwell just ran him off the mark and need him apart from anything else.
Well, he got frustrated. Did Kidwell.
Martin nearly stretched out then. Iro, big man.
That's a lot better defence. Good work from Langer, got right underneath him.
Now then, will they give it some width this time? And they do, with Wellens. Wellens back to Stankovic. Oh, this is too easy. John Stankovic. He returned to the side last week as well against Hull. He has missed 8. They all wait their chance, and when it comes along, they grab the opportunity with both hands. Stankovic the try, the latest for St Helens.
Well, I would hate to be a Warrington Wolves fan. You just don't know whether they're going to fall asleep, wake up, play excitement or not. That defensive quality was poor yet again. Look how they hesitate. Where's he going? I'll tell you what he's going. He's going to pass to this fella. Stankovic, one of the new young guns, and why not? He enjoyed that. Let's raise the spirits. And when you got a youngster like that coming through, John Stankovic, he's the start of the future. Don't worry about that.
Well, you see, last August it was 58-18, and at the moment Warrington are on the receiving end of another tonking here. They're trailing by 20 points to nil. Sculthorpe is bang in front of the sticks for this conversion attempt. And the thing about Warrington, Steve-O, is you never know whether it's going to be good guy, bad guy, whether it's going to be Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde who turns up. Tonight Mr. Hyde is here in full glory. 22-0, and they need a potion from somewhere, Warrington.
Well, I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe a little bit of pride. Look at the defence here. They're hanging back. They're too far wide. Instead of shuffling and going across, they're just hanging around. 3 went for Wellens. Left the gap for Stankovic. The heads are down. Someone shot Wolfie.
John Stankovic on a losing side in his last 3 St Helens appearances, by the way. On the evidence of the opening 29 minutes here, he won't be on the losing side tonight.
Well, I hope Daryl van der Velde has sent someone down into the Warrington dressing room for half-time and print this big word called pride. Look at this.
Sullivan.
It's as though they're frightened of them.
Maybe they're in awe of them. So many... and that's a high shot on Hyatt. McCurry the culprit.
Like his name suggests, McCurry takes advantage of him, and there McHayam has an appealing look to the referee, Robert Connolly. Silly penalty to give away.
Sculthorpe, Nicol.
Well, there's little angles that they're running St Helens, and when you're against a defence that just hangs back, you'll just cut them to ribbons all day.
Wellens.
Look at him, still hanging back. Like watching a magician waiting for the rabbit to come out of the hat.
Well, the rabbit will pop out again in a minute because they're queuing up to score. Sculthorpe. Fairley. Wellens. Nobody wants to tackle. McHayam. Wide to Tommy Martin. Wide to Sean Hoppy. But in again. That's the second try for Sean Hoppy. And this Warrington defence is breathtakingly pathetic.
Disgrace. As I mentioned before, look, what they're going to do, I'll go through and score. It's just non-existent. Martin had all the time in the world to take a bad ball, which was high. He really should have had someone right in his face to put him under pressure. They failed to do it. Watch. Gets it up, swings around, out wide. Hoppy said, thank you very much indeed. That's my second try. This is all so easy.
Sean Hoppy with the try. Well, he started off with 5, now he's got 7. You look down the team sheets, you see so many stars missing. You think Warrington, well, they must have at least a chance. But now, 28-0, if this goes over. He's kicking them from everywhere now. 28 points to nil. The World Club champions, the back-to-back Super League champions, are proving what a squad they have here, and what strength in depth for Ian Millwood to call on.
The right attitude, they rolled their sleeves up, they got in, they did get stuck in early. They took control of the game, and they have just absolutely blasted this Warrington side away. As I mentioned before, that's a bad mistake. Can they make it pay?
Guisset. But look at the way they get back in numbers, St Helens.
Called teamwork.
But when it gets tough for St Helens, they really do dig deep. Nick out. Sculthorpe took Breers out in back play. Quick tap penalty. Breers looking to go himself. Just held up short. half. Off the chest of Nutley and play on. Here they come again. The red and white army is on the march. Junkers now.
Good work from Kidwell.
No wonder he's shaking his head.
They just can't do the basics right. Neither can the big fella Kevin Iro.
Well, Ian Millward hasn't raised a smile all night. Maybe we cut to him every time his team has made a mistake, but he doesn't look like he's enjoying this. He must be.
I know which coach I would rather be. I know Dallow's got the same hairstyle as me, but I would not be in his shoes at all. And I'll tell you another thing as well. The Warrington side can expect a few words, and I'm not so sure there'll be words of wisdom.
It's a blood bin, by the way. Gary Mercer has gone off.
Look at the difference. St. Helens player. Warrington player receives the ball, Saints player in his face.
McCurry has received it, and Stankovic and Edmondson in his face. Not played properly. Clark, Nutley, Fairley and Hyam with the tackle. Enthusiasm all across the park for St. Helens. Nickau stepping his way through. Supporters arrive. This is noon.
Great offload there from the loose forward Nickau.
Another penalty, Warrington. Take it quickly, and they have. Langer at the line of defence. Tackle there by Heath Cruikshank. Nutley! They need something. Clark, Nickau, Hunt.
Oh, look at the strength there from Iro. Hunt thought he was going over the line. He just dragged him back like a rag doll.
Nickau and Clark. Back it goes to Keesay, but this St. Helens defence. They're determined they're not going to be breached. Here's John Clark again. On it goes to Alan Langer. It's now with Lee Breers. Here is Ian Sibbett. That's Lee Penny. And Penny's in this time. He got over the top of Steve Hall. And Lee Penny, who was denied earlier, or at least his colleague was, Ian Sibbett in this corner after Penny's run. Well, no wonder he isn't smiling. He's got very little to smile about, even though at last Warrington are on the board.
That was much better play. The good link between Langer and Breers. That was a nice offload there from Sibbett. And it had to be scored. It took real strength here from Penny. Is that the lifeline they needed? Went right over Hall. No chance. A glimmer of hope, perhaps.
The first Warrington try from Lee Penny. But on the other side of the score sheet, there are 5 registered for St. Helens. I don't know about a lifeline. Warrington, I think, need a couple of lifeboats. 28-4, Breers with the kick. Formerly with St. Helens, he joined Warrington in 1997. And he has added 2 more. 28 points to 6. Well, it's marginally better from a scoreline point of view. And at least they're over the line for the try.
And it was a good try too. As I mentioned just after the game had started, that a lot of people, including myself, thought that the combination of this fella with Alan Langer and Lee Breers would reap them rewards. But it's no good having the football if you do not want to tackle.
Lee Breers has just passed a little personal milestone since he joined Warrington from St. Helens. As I say, that was in 1997. He's just passed 850 points for the club.
And none more so vital than that.
And of course a man
Conversion
with Sean Long out of the equation, who must have designs on a Great Britain jersey. Breers, after his performance for Wales in the World Cup last year.
You need a better performance in this second half.
Well, exactly.
Because Warrington, they just want to say farewell with this.
A a better run from Clark.
The St. Helens players down in back play. I think it's Cruikshank.
Dub over the top from Langer. Easy though that for Hall. Langer leading the chase, but he was cut down by Nutley.
Well, there's Cruikshank, just getting back into the line of attack. Took a big hit there.
This is Stewart now.
They've just been mesmerised, this defence.
Well, they're pretty good to watch, St. Helens, but the team, the opposition, isn't paid to watch them, it's paid to tackle them. Dink over the top by Sculthorpe to Alan Hunt.
Good refereeing there by Robert Connolly. And the two players in front shouted to them, "You're offside."
Here's Sibbett.
That means that the game is fast and flowing.
Clark to Breers. Inside to Nickow. Good tackling by Yonkers. He lost that.
Well, that's not going to help matters. Oh, dear me. There's only one boss.
He's in the bin.
Oh, great.
He's not gone yet, Nickow. He reluctantly leaves the pitch. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear. The referee would be justified to produce a red card.
I think he will. Absolutely lost the plot. He was interfered, no doubt about it. But this is no right for him to think that he can be the master of our game. Yonkers was all over him, no doubt about it, and he's a lucky guy that Robert Connolly just took a big deep breath and thought, well, 10 minutes is sufficient.
Well, it wasn't the aggravation he got first time, it's when he pointed to his head.
If we lose respect for the officials, okay, I'm one of the worst to criticise them, but if the players start doing that, we may as well all go home.
They've got 10 seconds to breach the line again, St. Helens. This is Martin, and he will. £32-6. All smiles on St. Helens' faces. Apart from the coach. And apart from him. And Darrell van der Veld's team are in ribbons.
When you're in a big hole, you need someone to help you form the chain to get out of it. Pathetic attempt there from David Kidwell. Martin just ducked under. Watch this. You go over the top, slide in, I'll take the forward. Oh, so easy. And that, I'm afraid, has been the cause of a lot of problems for Warrington. If you do not defend, you will suffer. If thou shalt not tackle, you get drubbing.
Well, there they are behind the post, a familiar place for them in this first half, Warrington. And Paul Sculthorpe now, with a chance to add two more. Which he does with ease. That's half-time. It hasn't come quickly enough for Warrington. St. Helens 34-6. A blistering display from St. Helens. But I'm afraid Warrington might as well be on the terraces and watching them, because they just haven't been at the races from the very first whistle. The champions 34, Warrington 6. A first half that St. Helens will want to remember for a long time, but Warrington, well, I think they ought to consign all this to the memory bank. And Darrell van der Velde has got one almighty job to do to lift his side. They're down, remember, to 12 men start of the second half. Nickow in the bin. half-time here at Nosey Road, 34 points to 6 in the Saints' favour. It has been a pretty awful show if you're a Warrington Wolves supporter, but as you can probably hear in the background, the St Helens supporters are singing and dancing. And why shouldn't they be? And the Warrington fans who have turned up here in numbers as well, well, they're not exactly singing and dancing, but they're also not burning the jerseys yet either, Steve, although they might in the second half if it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, I mentioned the word pride, didn't I, in that first half, and Darrell van der Velde has got a heck of a job to try to lift his side. They are just absolutely been blown out of the park, haven't they? They didn't arrive, they didn't even start. The tackling has been absolutely disgraceful.
They're not leaving, Steve, they're not going home, they're changing ends. They're hoping to see something better up the other end in the
to be fair,
half.
it cannot be worse than what they have shown in that first 40 minutes. Probably the worst that I've seen from any Super League team, talking defensive-wise, in the first half for years and years and years. It was just pathetic. It really was embarrassing.
Steve, what do you do if your name is Darrell van der Velde at this point in time? All the players know he is going at the end of the season. What threat does he have? What can he do to turn this round?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if he's not in that dressing room. He just kept walking right across the park, got in his car and gone home and said, listen, no point in me doing all the hard work.
He's there.
He's there. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if it had gone there. He has to give them a round of the kitchens. I just can't believe this Warrington side. We've often said it this year, Jekyll and Hyde. Well, I tell you what, they certainly are today. They just did not turn up. I'm taking nothing away from St Helens. They play good open football, but the times that they just avoided the tackle. Ian Millward, well, he must be just kicking himself thinking, how easy is this? If this is going to be the situation where we're going to play some of the lower sides, okay, we've been badly hit by injuries. This was a golden opportunity for the Warrington Wolves to rip this injured team apart. And what do? They just stand back and hesitate. It is just nothing short of pathetic.
Well, as you can see in that St Helens dressing room, there'll be no lessening off of the pace, there'll be no easing off of the pedal, because St Helens want to win this and win this handsomely. They are, so far, has been very, very easy for them, but when you think that points difference is going to make such a difference come the end of the season in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, Warrington can expect no mercy here.
None whatsoever, and I think he'll throw on the young kids as he did in that first half. He'll interchange. I think they'll bring Tommy Martin off because he knows that he's not fully fit, and I think really he'll just safely go through this second half. He'll just say, go out there, boys, and enjoy yourself. What on earth Darrell van der Velde can do to his side, hopefully that pride will come to it. If you're a Wolves fan, then I should go and make a cup of tea, because this is awful watching. Good work from Stewart, though, to be fair. See how they hesitated there? Kidwell really should have wrapped him up. They didn't, and that was the start of a blitz. Look at this. 4 defenders have gone one way. McDonald, he'll never score an easier try like that in his life. They had the opportunity, the one bright spot, when Penny made the great break here. It was a wonderful pass from Sullivan. Should I say, from Alan Hunt. Penny went through. Now watch for this young hooker, Mick Hyam. This is the reason why Saints argued the toss about getting him there. What a wonderful tackle on Sibbett. No try, foot into touch. Then Stankovic went very, very close. Back on the inside here. Just got to him, and the pass was forward to Hoppy. They were just enjoying themselves out there. And watch for the intercept. See how Hoppy put himself in a good position. It's no fluke. His experience told there. And no one could get to him. He's not the fastest man in Super League, I can tell you, is a Kiwi. But he had enough speed to take him through there. And then Saints enjoying themselves, keeping the ball alive. This was on the last tackle. Look at the defence, where they're going. Now then, where's the rabbit? Here he is, straight underneath the post. Disgraceful. And Stankovic, rightly so excited. Hoppy in for his second. Let's hang back, fellas. It's as though they're doing the tango. They're going backwards rather than forwards. And then they did score. raised a bit of hope. Good play from Civic, the combination of the two halfbacks, Frears and Langer, and there was Penny in for it. Was there a glimmer of hope? No. Watch Kidwell's woeful attempt on Martin. Swings the arm over the top. You know, when I was a kid, they used to say to me, tackle their legs. That's how they'll stop. They can't run with their legs tackled. We just saw there Kidwell go try to knock his head off. Martin ducks it down. It's woeful.
So a pretty desperate first half for Warrington, but I wonder if your name was Alan Langer at this particular moment in time, what on earth would you be thinking? Last weekend you were playing for Queensland in the State of Origin decider and playing arguably the game of your life. All right, Langer has been largely anonymous in this first half, but I just wonder what thoughts would be running through his head right now when he looks at the scoreboard and sees 38 points to 6 up against his team, the Warrington Wolves. I wonder whether Phil Clark can shed any light on that. Phil, what do you think Langer will be thinking to himself at the moment?
He probably thinks, like you pointed out, that he plays in a schizophrenic side, and some of the teams who've lost to Warrington this year must be watching this performance and wondering just how that happened. But there was something that happened earlier in the game when a high kick went up from St Helens. No Warrington player was able to get over it. A fantastic chase and resulting in a goal line dropout. And from then, really, you knew there was no way back. And coaches very often in the post-match conference talk about the completion rate of their side. Really, that just tells you how well they've held onto the ball when they've had it. And for Warrington today, it's been woeful. They've even conceded penalties when they're in possession, and that is a cardinal sin in this game of rugby league. And really, there's a tremendous amount of improvement needed from them. I mean, the missed tackles now, they're just completely shot to pieces. For St Helens, well, they play total rugby, don't they? Every player, whatever he's picked, whatever number he has on his back or position he lines up in, is exploited to have all the skills of the modern-day player. And also they have a knowledge of whatever they have to do, wherever they find themselves on the field. They have wonderful game awareness, and that's what makes them such a marvellous side to watch, and one who, when at the best, are simply irresistible.
Phil, we talk about body language in any sport, especially in our game, but these are the shop window dummies, aren't they?
It's atrocious at the moment, and it's going from bad to worse, but I maintain the fact that really they've just gifted far too much possession to St Helens. And St Helens, as we've pointed out, whatever players they bring in, they slot in, and it's hard to tell the difference, isn't it? Be it Hyam or Cunningham, they still complete the same things, they do the little jobs well, and that's what makes them such a good side. In particular, close to their own line, if you watch the wingers get in, they run from dummy half so well, and really that's one of the areas where Warrington are doing shot to pieces. When they get on a roll, they play that flat attack, players coming onto the ball, and probably better than any side at the moment. They have wonderful support play, so whenever they make a break, they can capitalise on it. And they have had a bit of a win behind them. They utilise with those 40-20 kicks, but really they're just a fantastic awareness of what all they are trying to achieve collectively, and it makes them so hard to play against.
Yeah, 5 gold stars for St Helens, and their supporters behind Phil Clark there. You probably saw them. They're enjoying this. They are enjoying every minute of that first half, and they believe they have more to come. Well, Steve-O, the applications closed on Friday for Darrell van der Velde's successor. I understand that your name wasn't on the list, but if you were a candidate, would you fancy taking on this lot after that first half?
Well, I may look like a lunatic, but I can assure you I am not, because after that, it would not surprise me. I said that even at half-time it would surprise me if Darrell van der Velde was walking to his car and saying, I've had enough. It would not surprise me either if I read in the newspapers tomorrow that he's resigned.
Well, I remember the St Helens Warrington Regal Trophy not long ago, and Warrington were beaten 80 points to 0. I mentioned it in the first half, and that was the night that Brian Johnson decided that he had had enough at Wilderspool, and he walked out. But we'll all obviously have to wait and see. Darrell van der Velde, to be fair to him, is no quitter, and he won't, I don't think, be throwing in the towel just yet. He has too much affection for the Warrington club, let's be fair. Well, who's going to be the man of the match? A Saint, I think. A St Helens player will be going home with that Tissot watch, unless there is something that comes from somewhere for Warrington in the second half. It would take a man of the match performance from a Warrington player to turn this game round now. Viewers at home, you can always take part, of course, in our competition. Predict Steve-O and Phil Clark's choice, and 2 grand final tickets will be yours for Saturday, October the 13th the golden evening at Old Trafford when the Tetley Super League comes to a resounding climax. And winners also will go into the draw to win the box at Old Trafford on the night. The telephone numbers 09009 10 10 13 15 50 92 35 56. And don't forget, if you would like to email us, and your contribution could easily be used on Rugby League World on Wednesday, rugbyleague@skysports.com, and any news on the game, www.skysports.com. Well, the news here at Nosey Road gets even better, because we're going now to pitchside to join Bill Arthur, who is with the St Helens chairman, Howard Morris. And the great news for St Helens coming through today is that the Saints have re-signed David Fairley, the prop forward who has made such a wonderful impact on Super League 6. He'll be here for Super League 7 as well. Let's hear from the Saints chairman now. He's with Bill.
Howard, a lot of speculation as to what David Fairley would do. He's his own man very much. What's the decision?
Obviously, you've just heard he's signed a new one-year contract with us, and we're absolutely delighted.
Now, was that hard work to get him to put pen to paper?
It was
at least agree.
It was hard work because his wife's just had a baby. He only likes to sign a one-year contract. His first year's not over yet, but he's re-signed and we're delighted.
Well, it is. I mean, it's a heck of a coup for the club, because other people were interested, weren't they?
Yes, several people are interested. Some quite famous clubs as well, as you know, but we're delighted. He's the best Australian that's come out, I think.
What's he brought to the club this season, would you say?
Well, he's a very professional player. Everybody looks up to him, and he just does it on the field, doesn't he? And off the field as well. Tremendous player.
OK, then what about the first half performance from your side?
Well, I'm delighted. We've lost 2 on the run for the first time since Ian came, and I'm surprised we're that far ahead, but it's 2 halves to a game, so we'll see what happens in the second half.
But given there's no Kieran Cunningham, there's no Chris Joynt, Sean Long, of course, absent, it's great credit to the side, isn't it?
We've got 7 missing, but Warrington got missing as well, but yes, it's tremendous for us, yes, I'm delighted.
Howard, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure. OK, cheers, bye.
Well, great news for St Helens fans. David Fairley here for Super League 7. There he is, with the jersey just about on the top of his shoulders. And I know that Saints gave him the weekend off last week to be with his wife at the birth of their baby. And that proves that this game has a very human face as well as everything else. But just down the corridor, there is a huge black cloud over the top of the Warrington Wolves dressing room. And how will they attack this second 40 minutes now? So half-time here at Nosey Road, and St Helens in complete and utter control of the match by 34 points to 6. 2 tries from Hoppy, Stewart, McDonald, Stankiewicz, Martin, Sculthorpe with the 5 goals, and just the penny try and the Brias goal to show for the Warrington Wolves. School report would say Warrington can do better, and these statistics will make pretty grim reading. 14 missed tackles by Warrington, 13 breaks from St Helens, and the runs from dummy half, well, they've been non-existent from Warrington. It's Mickey Hyam, who of course is the hooker in place of Kieran Cunningham tonight. But as I said, Steve-O, during the first half, it doesn't matter who you put in the St Helens jerseys, they all seem to play with such heart and spirit.
It's a sign of a good club and a sign of a very, very good coach indeed. Ian Millwood deserves all the plaudits, and believe you me, the fans here give him plenty of those, and they are behind their team. They're not the world champions for nothing.
And this young man, Paul Sculthorpe, who is the captain of the night, the May Player of the Month, the June Player of the Month will be mentioned early in the week, next week. But Paul Sculthorpe making his 200th career appearance tonight, including his representative career. 34-6 half-time, second half for Warrington underway, and they really have to dig deep and play with a bit of pride now.
They sure do, and that's better defence. Well, that should get them off to the good start they needed. Oh, and it looks as though we're going to have a bit of power play in the next 40 minutes.
Just like I say as well, by the way, Steve, Warrington, of course, begin the second half down to 12 men. Tawera Nikau is still in the sin bin and will be for 5 or 6 minutes of this second half.
Here we see the good defence, which was non-existent for Stanza. We often say it, but I think for once I can say it's right that any side can't play any worse, should I say, than what they did in the first 40.
Breers tries to get the ball away. That's going to be a try if that was play on. I think Kidwell's come up with this. I think Warrington are off to the flying start they wanted.
I'm not quite sure whether the Warrington guy knocked it forward.
Well, he tried to get the ball around
in
in an impossible situation, which was Breers. Now then, does it come off Sullivan?
I think it did.
Well, you're right, Eddie. If they touch Sullivan, that's a ball, that is, through the dummy. It's off his foot. This will be TRY time. And only right that the referee should go for the video assistance. But there it is. There's the touch. And it was kicked on by the left boot, should I say, from Kidwell. Oh, this really will get them started. Half-time talk. I've got no doubts in my mind. TRY.
I think the video ref's about to agree. He is. Well, the perfect start to Warrington in the second half. Trouble is, it's come 40 minutes too late.
We often say it's a game of two halves. We take each game as it comes, etc., etc. But that was good play. People back on the inside, and good work by Rob Smythe to give them the opportunity. You've got to take your chances. This was good play. Rob Smythe came back on the angle. Good support of Sullivan. Air swing. Kidwell in. Can they? I wonder.
Well, it would be the greatest comeback of all time. David Kidwell tries in consecutive matches now. And Lee Breers here with the conversion attempt. Far out on the touchline, of course. Kicking well. Kicking brilliantly. Lee Breers, 34-12.
That was a beauty.
Hope springing eternal around Wilderspool.
Well, we said they couldn't play any worse. And Kidwell really has got the wagon rolling. He didn't lose just one wheel in the first 40. He lost all 4. And someone pinched the axles too. And in the half-time break, they've built the wagon up a bit.
Now then, have they fatally poked the stick at St Helens Hornets' nest? Strong run from McCurry. I'm sure the word pride must have been used by Darrell van der Velde in that dressing room.
Well, I hope they have a mirror in there, because I think you should have told them to all go and have a look and say, never mind just pride, what about a bit of respect for yourself?
Clark to Breers to McCurry, and wide it goes to Sibbett, and further wide, and then back on the inside, and here's Breers again, and now it's with Gissé, but the St Helens defence has marshalled, and there's no way through because he's lost the ball.
That'll be the knock on, and that's the mistake they didn't want.
Oh, Gissé is hurt.
Well, he was slammed down on the ball carrying arm, and that's why he lost it. Bang! 3 men in the defensive, straight down.
Okay, this scrum is going to form, and I notice beneath us Martin Masella's about to be thrown in, but maybe not before Saints have posted another try. The immaculate Schofield all the way. Paul Schofield, once of Warrington, now of St Helens, and after a bright start, St Helens just tried to ram home their advantage even more. No appeal from Warrington that Schofield didn't get the ball down. although he was turned up on his back over the line. And he's got some pace, Steve, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it was a feeble attempt to tackle. Easy meat, really, in the end. He knew that even though they dived, they'd get his leg, Alan Hunt. But the momentum would take him over. He's happy.
St. Bernard, who, according to Howard Morris in his programme notes today, is celebrating his first wedding anniversary to Mrs. St. Bernard.
Well, I hope they have many, many more happy years together.
Well, this fella has been with St. Helens since 1998. He was £370,000 worth of talent, and I must say, on his form this season, that looks a snip. 40 points to 12, parity restored if you're a Saints fan.
Yeah, not the best effort by the substitute Paul Noon, playing in the loose forward position. He broke away from the scrum, and again paid the price of going far too high on this chap. Pride moment for Sculthorpe, leading the side today, and he's led them well.
Freer's kick-off all on the ground to Tim Yonkers. Kidwell's after him. It's a more enthusiastic chase.
Actually, that was a good shout from the referee, Robert Connolly. He was shouting to the Warrington players, saying, make sure you bend your back. In other words, don't go high. That is great advice. Bend your back and tackle low.
Well, 2 tries since half-time. Wonder whether the script has been torn up from the 2 coaches. Bill, what was said in those dressing rooms?
Well, I'm sure Darrell van der Velde would have been pleased initially with the start his side made for the second half, because as you guys were speculating, pride was very much the word in that Warrington dressing room. Forget that first half, it was miserable. Let's put it to the back of their minds, and Warrington set out to win this second half, to at least prove to themselves and to the huge army of supporters who've travelled here today that they can match Saints at least for 40 minutes. But already Saints have returned to form. Ian Millward said to them, forget about that first 40 minutes, let's set about it as though it was 0-0 on the scoreboard and take it to Warrington again. And they've done that as well. So I should imagine that Ian Millward, even though he hasn't appeared it, is the happier of the 2 coaches.
Well, the Saints will remember that they lost at Wilderspool 56-22 in April. They have something of a score to settle there, and that victory for Warrington that day brought to an end a sequence of 14 consecutive League and Cup victories for St. Helens over their old rivals.
Well, they've got nothing to lose, Warrington, to be a little bit more adventurous. That's good play from Freers.
And Hyan, he got it. The second and third attempt, and it did go backwards.
In the sweeping role, as a hooker should be, anticipated there, but that was good adventures at play by little standoff Lee Breers. More of that, please. Chip over, but look at Hyan, quick-witted, went backwards all the time.
Saints back in the driving seat, Sculthorpe in possession. And oh, don't tell me Sculthorpe's picked up a knock. No, just a little weary as he gets to his feet. This is David Fairley now. Another year. They're assembling quite a side for next year, aren't they? St. Helens already. And you think all the injured players who should be coming back. Stankovic, oh, just brilliantly. Gets it away to Hoppy. Here's Hall. There's no defence again. There's no defence anywhere. Another try for St. Helens.
Good play by Stankovic, the youngster charging down on the blind side, got the momentum going, and Hall finished it off. We should have pound for every time. We've said poor defence. But look at that. Going high yet again. Stankovic, so much strength, offload, hopping. Look at this. I might come back on the inside. Why not? Get a little bit closer to the sticks. They're playing with him now. There's not much room out there. Breers went high yet again. Why on earth, one of the smallest players out on the paddock wants to go high on a big fella like John Stankovic? You just pay the price time and time again. Easy.
embarrassingly so. And Steve Hall will remember the matches against Warrington this year. Paul Sculthorpe then lines up yet another conversion attempt. When you consider, Steve, this was a match that Warrington simply had to win, really, to keep any flickering hopes of a top 5 playoff place alive. It compounds the felony. 46-12.
You're right, Eddie. Psychologically, they knew they had a great chance. They've been battered and bruised and jinxed with the injuries of St. Helens. We said just before the kick-off that they would play with pride. They never give in. Look at that. Strength of Stankovic. Hoppy. I won't go in there. I'll just cut back on the inside.
This is an amazing team, Warrington. They beat St. Helens at Wilderspool this year. They've done Leeds this year. Here is Hyam. He's taking on Hunt on the outside, and he's lost it. I'll get back to the point I was making. They've beaten St. Helens at Wilderspool, Leeds at Wilderspool, Wigan at Wilderspool. And look what happens when they come away.
Good work from Hunt, full back. Made sure that he had to run on the arc, but he's having a fine game as this fellow Mick Hyam. Just go back to that wonderful tackle in the first half. But maybe just nullified any comeback that was maybe going to be evident from this Wolves side. But we saw yet again that Hyam just breezed through with so much ease. That's a 40-20, and he's going to get it.
Good kick. And no, it's head ball to St. Helens. Didn't quite make it.
Ooh,
I think it did.
Bit contentious there. Well, how on earth can he? He's about 30 metres behind.
He's got to make his decision.
How can he make a decision? That's just like tossing a coin, heads or tail.
Here's Iro. Get out the way, Mr. Kidwell. Well, then 4 of them come back. Oh, Nico has returned from the sin bin, of course. Sullivan, Yonkers, not the best pass. Sculthorpe, though, hands it on. Here's Mark Edmondson. Nick Hyam, David Furley, Paul Wellens, Stankovic, Martin, round the corner, the queuing up. Hoppy, they just get to him in time. Wellens, Martin, dab through. Nickau grounded it.
Did well there, Nickau. That's a lunge for it. And a well-weighted kick here from Tommy Martin. That's how you apply the pressure. And they've gone for a quick drop out. Caught them napping. It's 65 metres that was. But the ease that they're getting over this advantage line. Look at that. They're still going high. LEGS legs, fellas. Clark finally got there. Look at the meters gained. 1,596.
As opposed to 750, and there's another penalty for a few more. And more back-chatting. Nickau again.
This is going to get out of hand. Someone is going to lose their temper.
Here's Furley. On it goes to Stankovic. Stankovic to Furley. He celebrates the new deal with a try. David Furley. New baby, new deal, and a try. What a week.
What a game this youngster's having. John Stankovic. Fairly offloaded. Sibit goes, guess what, high. Then he tries to go low. Lovely offload. Good combination between the two second rowers. They've worked well, Fairley and Stankovic, throughout this game.
Fairley enjoys himself. Does David Fairley. He missed the whole game when his wife safely delivered the baby. 3 tries in his last 3 appearances. And coming to Great Britain, bang in form. He was voted the Newcastle Knights Player of the Year last year, David Fairley. And Paul Sculthorpe's adding to his reputation as a goal kicker here. There's his angle.
Well, we all thought perhaps, and Ian Millwood, the coach, thought perhaps that his lack of experience in goal kicking could be a problem. Not anymore.
Another 2 points. Saints go past the 50 mark. 52-12. And 4 years in a row now, Warrington have turned up here and have been beaten by 50 points on the other end of the scoreline.
Well, were they wearing the wreath of peace? I say Warrington have tackled like some little white dove on occasions.
20 points, by the way, for Paul Sculthorpe tonight already, and plenty of time for him to get even more. I mentioned Warrington's emphatic home wins over Leeds, Wigan and Saints, but stark contrast to tonight's performance, and indeed stark contrast to setbacks against the likes of Wakefield and Salford. And they haven't done terribly well away from home. They've only won once this year, and I think we're seeing the away reason why. Martin's kick, it'll hang in there. Sullivan nearly got a touch to that. Rob Smythe took the gamble, and nearly he came up with Lerman, Bell, Cherry. It was nearly 3 stars for Sullivan.
Would have been a try. Poor play by Rob Smythe, but good kick yet again from Tommy Martin. I keep repeating myself in the way that St. Helens, they know how to apply that pressure.
Good kick, good kick.
Here he does, winds up.
Early on Kidwell and Langer and Smythe.
Well, he at least has stuck to him there.
Another penalty. He's in the bin, Kidwell. It's getting worse for Warrington. The referee...
Taking far too long. Too many penalties made for the ball. Tell you guys.
But he just held up 2 hands then. I'm sure he did. I'm sure Kidwell was on his way to the bin.
Well, it looks as though he'd given himself away. Little doubt about it, but on this occasion they actually stuck to the big fella, David Fairley.
Clear the road. Hands away. Move, 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 move.
Well, let's hope that Robert Connolly keeps a pretty tight grip of this.
Sculthorpe. Yes, it's the time when rags might be lost. Warrington are lying on all over the place. They're trying to halt the flow, and they won't be stemmed. Stankovic just forced back.
He deserves a try for all the work that he's put in.
Another one.
Oh, he's getting strappy.
Sculthorpe. Taking an eternity to get off the grounded man. Hyam offloads. Here they come again. They'll attack down this way. Edmondson. Just short.
He did right.
Penalty. He's got in for a double movement.
Yeah, ball carrying arm and hit the deck.
He went for the line afterwards.
There it is. And he reached out.
Yeah, he did move the arm.
Yeah, but he hasn't reached the line. It's got to be in the action of scoring the try. If it's short, he should be allowed to get up and play the ball. Didn't lose control of it. The moot point, perhaps.
Masella. for Warrington.
Let's go.
Coming up to the hour mark, and we'll be asking you to ring in for man of the match. We'll give you the numbers shortly. I think you've got one of 17 to choose from tonight.
What do you think? St. Helens 52 on the board. So they might just ease off, but no. They're out of the blocks quickly. Our defence wants to punish this Warrington attack, and they're doing that. They've lost about 3 metres there.
That's better. Masella to Mercer. He tries to punch the hole up the middle. It's John Clark. Good work from Hyam. Play on. Well, Alan Hunt has had so many great moments on this ground.
Here we go, easy man.
This is not one of them.
Say that again. I don't think it's a team in Super League that's performed this badly, to be fair. For a long, long time, they'll be looking towards a hooter. It'll be sweet sounding.
Stankovic picked up and dropped.
Big hit from Nikau.
He just gets up and smiles, does John Stankovic.
He's a tough hombre.
Wellens.
Gary, move! He's your man, come!
Tommy Martin. Away from Langer easily. Good tackle by Clark. Yonkers, well, I think he's been badly done to. He's got Yonkers for the knock-on. It was a huge hit. And Yonkers, I think, was facing his own line.
Captain Sculthorpe just a little bit of a word with the referee. That went backwards. Well, he's got the knock-on from there.
Heads in, outside.
The reason why the Saint skipper, just a quiet word.
And Warrington will take any charity that's going. Hunt to McCurry.
Should have been penalised there.
Yes.
Edmondson certainly was hanging around.
Good ball to Mercer.
Guess what?
He's given it as a forward pass. Oh no, he's got the knock-on.
Big hit from Wellens. This shows you the difference between the two sides. Big forward like Mercer comes to a grinding halt with a crunch from Wellens. Playing half-back today. And there's still a long way to go. Mount Everest at the moment for this Warrington side.
Iro away from Hunt, away from Civic, touched
Back to 6.
by Breers. Man of the match, 0999 10 10 13 UK viewers, Irish viewers 15 50 92 35 56. Vote now for man of the match. 2 grand final tickets up for grabs. Saints were there the last 2 years in this form. You'd be unwise to bet against them making it the hat-trick.
It's been an outstanding performance by this young second rower, John Stankovic. He really has run well, especially on that blind side. They've used him quite a lot. Obviously, Ian Mill would be very, very happy with his performance tonight.
I think he'd be happy, Steve-O, from 1 to 17. If you don't count all the squad numbers, you know what I mean. Because so many stars out. It was a night that could have gone horribly wrong. Long for the season, New Love for the season, Joint, Sculthorpe, he's there, but Shields isn't. And neither is Kieran Cunningham, who many people believe is the main man. Nikau. Grounded by Tommy Martin.
Typical Martin tackle, isn't it? With a half Cumberland throw.
So keen, St. Helens, though, aren't they? So keen in defence. Langer.
Well, we know how important it is.
Breers. A dab through. Breers. Well, it was, but at least he's having a go, Steve-O. At least. Oh, here's Anthony Stewart. He's got the legs. And so has Hunt. Did a great tackle. They want to get on with it quickly. Sullivan, Saints on the roll again. Higher. No, there could have been 100 this.
That'll be a knock-on.
It could have been 100.
And they know. They're just running Ryan. With a high shot there on Mick Hyam. They are enjoying themselves. Great opportunity, of course, with all the injuries. Edmondson, one of the young guns. It looks like Frears has picked up a knock. Feeling too good. Well, will they attack? They've been forced into one out most of the game, though. Warrington. Oh, that's all.
They could well put the pass in, and the fact that his colleague has fallen over. They've fallen over. Iro, Sculthorpe, big Wayne McDonald. A gift for Nick Howe. Here's Mercer.
Well, can they finish with a bit of speed? That's got to be a penalty. Got to work from both sides. Touch judge is on. Something went on in back play. This will be interesting.
Yeah, no, it's happening over tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go with it. Okay. I'll think we'll carry on with it. Penalty given.
Well, there didn't seem to be anything untoward there. The penalty...
Well, there's something involving Tim Yonkers. That's Yonkers there tackling Nick out.
Okay.
Maybe there's a bit of a schmozzle with Nick out.
I can't see anything.
No, nothing there. Anyway.
Clear the road, hands up!
Oh, well, the touch judge got on telly.
Nick out. And the pass inside, found Paul Wood.
Good tackle again from Hyam.
McCurry. Yes, impressive Mickey Hyam tonight in Cunningham's absence. It was in front of Langer. It was impossible for Nick out.
The basics have just let them down. And really, St. Helens haven't had to produce anything flashy. They just got over the advantage line. Nick Howe went high with across the chest. McDonald has a little bit of a word to the official. Connolly says, get on with it. No good messing around at this point in time.
Wellens. Still Wellens. Again, high tackles. Sculthorpe. Sculthorpe's in again. Second try for Sculthorpe. His personal points tally is mounting. Well, in this glorious season of Super League, none of the stars have twinkled brighter than one Paul Sculthorpe. A wonderful year this man's having. And captain tonight.
Well, I don't know what Warrington have been doing all week. I think they've been playing with Play-Doh because all they've been doing is patty caking all day. That was ever so easy. Look at the attempted tackle here on Wellens. Miss one, miss two. Offload. Simple. Is that a great game? But so have all the Saints.
Yes, as you say, without being at their flashy best.
Well, isn't there an old joke about 13 dustbins?
Well, I heard it about 11 footballers, soccer players, but yes, I know what you mean. Well, 56-12 now, and the 10th St. Helens try of the match posted. Been a nightmare for Warrington and their supporters and their coach.
Well, I think the embarrassing thing about it all is that St. Helens really haven't had to work up a sweat. It isn't as though it's been a keenly fought contest in the forwards, which it hasn't. It has failed to get into their face. They've failed to apply any sort of pressure. And when they've had the possession of the football, very few glimpses of skill, just one out. Reminiscent of Hull last night, I'm afraid.
Sculthorpe adds 2 more points. 58-12. Well, 58-12, I think you can whisper it just a little quietly now, but St Helens have got this match in their pocket. Phil Clark on the sideline, I'm searching for something to ask you, but you must be impressed by Saints.
I am, yeah. They have an attacking attitude one would expect from a sevens team, always wanting to keep the ball alive, ball out in 2 hands whenever possible, flicking, and the attitude to support whenever they are in possession, well, it's fantastic, and things just going from bad to worse. I'm sure that the Warrington fans going home tonight might play that song by Dee Ream from a few years ago. Things can only get better.
Phil, do you fancy the job as the Warrington coach?
I don't know, and I wouldn't fancy the chances of playing them either next week, knowing what we've seen from them this year. They're likely to come out and win by 50 the next time they play.
You're absolutely right. Yes, it might be Dr. Jekyll next week. This is certainly Mr. Hyde.
Clear.
Just wondering who they've got next week. We're checking, don't worry. Paul Sculthorpe, Anthony Stewart.
I'd love to see the stat of the times that St Helens have broke the first attempted tackle.
Heavy traffic there that greeted Yonkers. Here's Wellens. This is Stewart. It's gone back to Wellens. That's a knock on. No.
It's a little one.
No, he's allowed him to play on. Not over the line.
Badly done to there. Robert Connolly had a look at the touch judge. Nothing coming from the touch judge.
Oh, the chip to the in goal. Oh, I think McDonald is so tall. I think he's gone over the other side of the line.
Yeah, I think his elbows hit the whitewash, but as he got the ball down before it.
Well, he's 6'7". I just think he got over the line here. I think momentum's taken him across. Has it? No. Oh.
Beautiful kick through. Went right through the legs of one of the Warrington players. This is TR Whiteham, don't worry about that.
Second if it's given.
Well, I've run out of pen. The ink's gone. I keep writing TRY. It's driving me mad.
Sculthorpe's kick. Is he onside? Only a mile. Only a mile.
Straight through the legs. I think it was Clark, the hooker. Couldn't close his legs quick enough.
What's this going to be? Inevitable.
Well, the guy pushing the buttons. Oh, man, he must be sore.
Wayne McDonald.
Give me a break.
His second try of the match. And by the way, Warrington next week play Huddersfield. Look out, Giant.
Super kick. Been everywhere. McDonald there.
Wayne McDonald's try, and Paul Sculthorpe in front, and as you can see, this will take him into double figures, 10 on the night. And he joins the name and the list of some of the great goal scorers in Super League, with double figures next to his name in terms of goal kicking. Well, the Emperor will put thumbs down tonight to the Warrington players. They're having the time of their lives, though. There's St Helens fans. They've got possession from the kick-off, but Smythe, Masella, thundered to the ground by Mickey Hyam, who's been all over the place. Kidwell. Smythe. Masella.
What can Langer conjure up?
Here he is. On it goes to Breers. Off the chest. Knock on.
Play the first knock on. Alan Hunt flying through.
Oh, every picture tells a story. To be fair to Alan Langer, off the plane on Thursday, he has generally tonight been anonymous.
Yeah.
He had the game of his life last Sunday.
Well, the adrenaline that would have been pumping through him whilst he was down in Australia. I mean, he was just hailed as the god, the new king. Stand down Wally Lewis. He had a fantastic game. It obviously has taken its toll. But they just never got started.
No. And the second half possession, a mirror really of the first.
It's as though all the Warrington players came out with the left boot on the right foot.
And the laces tied together. Oh, McDonald. Look at the breaks. 21 by St Helens. That must be 22nd. And they haven't done yet. They're on the way to a 70-point scoreline if they get over here. Sculthorpe with the dab through. And Smythe cannot allow it to run dead. Yonkers.
Oh, he did well there.
To
Yeah.
Smythe.
Excellent stuff. Shidwell pretty slow to come through there. Oh, it's a knock-on. Another knock-on.
First one. Oh, it's penalised St Helens.
It was Sean McRae that knock-on-a-thon, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes, famous comment from Sean. It's like watching a knock-on-a-thon.
Okay, let's go.
This hasn't been a knock-on-a-thon, it's been a horror-a-thon for Warrington.
Here we go, here.
Wonder if they'll watch the tape this week, Warrington.
Well, if you
33 missed tackles.
if you see a little bonfire just at the back of the stand here, I think you'll find that that's the tape being burnt.
That's a flop.
It's got to be a flop.
Yeah, it certainly is by Mike Bennett.
Little doubt about it. The substitute just a little bit over-enthusiastic.
Well, 5 more minutes of Warrington agony to go, and look at that. There's no Kieran Cunningham tonight, remember. 18-1, the runs from dummy half. Nicky Hyam has played his full part in this. Penalty, interference, had to play the ball, and Paul Wood was interfered with. Here's Nick out. Now, can Warrington post something for their fans?
Yes.
They can. It's McCurry, isn't it?
It is. McCurry's over. This will be a try.
And he's handed it on again.
The judge has come through, but just check he was on that blind side.
Yeah, he's got it down. They tried to reef it out. That'll be try. He's in full control of it. Well, they're finishing off with a flourish.
That's given. Nothing, though, will hide their embarrassment. Nothing will conceal the problems. And the Wolf has taken his mask off, and he's got it back on again. McCurry, his 4th try of the year, but as I say, it only forms a bit of a smokescreen for the horrors that have gone before.
They did well there. Plenty of strength from McCurry. And for once, it was the St Helens player, Stankovic, that went far too high, ball and all, tried to stop him, couldn't. But it doesn't matter. They know they have been drubbed. The Shalakin.
Yes, there's no argument from this quarter, and I'm sure there'll be no argument from the Warrington quarter at the end. They have been absolutely hammered.
A lot of positives, though, would have come out for the Saints coach, Ian Millward.
This is Breers now with the conversion. He's missed. 64-16. Where is that siren? Put Darrell van der Velde out of his agony.
Keeping well clear of any firearms. But really, Eddie, a display like the Warrington side have produced is enough to send anybody mental. You put all the hard work on the training paddock.
Well, and the place
It's just that they haven't got started. They never got off.
No, they didn't from the 4th minute when they got over for the first try, St Helens. But, I mean, Witherspoon must have been almost euphoric this week with the performance from Langer last week in Queensland. And boy, has he come down to earth with a bang here.
Just shows you the highs and lows in sport.
Well, they said last weekend that Warrington beat Halifax using Langer's performance that they all watched on Sky Sports earlier in the day as their inspiration. And now the man's here. But to be fair, he looks worn out.
Oh. It's catching to the other side now. Stewart under no pressure at all. One of the few positive kicks from Alfie Langer. One day a hero was Langer. Last week it was, and the fullback Stewart making a real meal of it. And he knows he's got the winning bonus. More importantly, those 2 vital Super League points.
Going down the short side now. Breers changes the direction of the attack. It's Alan Hunt.
They've been lacking in ideas all the way through this game.
McCurry went without the legs. Clark, Langer, wrapped up by Sculthorpe.
Skipper on skipper.
Breers, a dab through, picked up. Here goes Mickey Hyam. A race between Hyam and Mercer.
Oh, get there,
it's
Nancy.
Hyams.
What a game this kid's had. You remember this.
What a night for Mick Hyam. What a night for Ian Millwood and St Helens. From one end of the field to the other, Mick Hyam opens his try-scoring account for St Helens. 20 years of age.
What a game he's had. The look on his face when he turned to his colleagues. Did you see that? Did you see me? I raced all the way down the wing and scored.
And he said when he got to the other end to all his players who congratulated him, I'm fair tuckered now.
Oh, superb. Lovely to see. Well done, son. You won't forget that for a long, long time. They don't have scrapbooks these days. It's all video libraries. And I wonder how many times he will replay that. As years go by, it'll extend 10 metres each year. We'll finish up, remember that try I scored at Knowsley Road, and there'll be 158 metres in years to come. This was a kick from Breers, picked it up.
I've got a little feeling this is a video referee decision. I think the referee has asked the video ref to check it out.
Looking to see for a knock on, but it caught it. It caught it again. It never touched. This is GRY. He'll be gutted if they say no, but he knows it's a try.
It's a try.
He knows it. Well done. Great team spirit. He knows.
Yeah, it's a try. They're absolutely right. And it's just the icing on the cake.
What a game. What a future. He knows that in front of him is one of the world's best here in Cunningham. But he will just have to bide his time.
Well, if rather it is now Warrington's biggest Super League defeat. And if Sculthorpe kicks this, he gets 11 goals and 30 points. He's got that. And 30 points equals, or rather breaks, the St Helens record in the Super League.
Who would have thought that?
Well, who needs Sean Long? God love him. Who needs Kieran Cunningham? Who needs Paul Newland? Who needs Chris Joynt? Who needs Peter Shields?
What's the odds now, Eddie, that Ian thinking of the fact that, OK, Kieran Cunningham put him in a prop. Use this young kid as a hooker. Why not?
That's full time. Warrington's agony is over. The ecstasy, though, for St Helens tonight. Nick Howe and Sean Hoppy, two proud Kiwis. They shake hands. Well, Warrington fans are streaming for the exits. St Helens supporters are celebrating a famous win. 12 tries, 11 goals, 70 points, 16 for Warrington. They have been well and truly hammered. Well, tonight, for all the players on the fringe, like John Stankovic, they have posted notice of intent that despite the big names missing through injury, they are in the wings and waiting their chance. 70 points to 16. The scoreline really says it all. St Helens well and truly ensconced within the top 5. Let's go down to the pitch. Here's Tommy Martin talking to Bill.
Tommy, wasn't such a happy return last week, but a lot happier tonight.
Yeah, it was. The lads set the stall. You know, it was a bit of a payback time for, against Warrington. They gave us a good hiding at their place, and it's time to turn the tables.
A lot of people had this down as a tricky game for you, given that you've got so many players out. Didn't seem that tricky.
No, it was tricky, like I said, but we set a stall out early, we had to attack their attack with our defence, and like I say, it come up trumps.
Now, how are you feeling, just back from the operation?
A bit tired, but like I say, I need a few games under my belt. We're struggling at half-back position, so like I say, I put my hand up and come forward a bit earlier than I should have done, really, but like I say, it's worth it when it's times like this.
Well, I don't think they're missing your goal kicking. Scully seems to be doing a decent job.
Thank God for that.
Thanks, Tommy.
Cheers, Bill.
Well, here it is. That's the story of the match. 70 points to 16. I don't think we've got time for me to go through everybody's name who has scored a try tonight. But Paul Sculthorpe has come up with 30 points, and that breaks the St Helens Super League record. 70 points to 16 they've won. The man of the match, no, it's not Paul Sculthorpe. The man who's going home with the Tissot watch tonight is young Mick Hyam. There he is, and he's talking now to Bill.
Mick, congratulations. Man of the match. Well, have you got your breath back after that try?
Yeah, thank you. So, thanks to Tissot. We've had 2 losses, and we didn't play very well last week. We set a score late this week. We stuck to the game plan, and as you can see from the score, we come up trumps today.
Now, from a personal point of view, coming in to replace Kieran Cunningham, what a job.
Well, that's it. A lot of people say you've got the hardest job in the world, but also it could be the best job in the world. Like, who better to learn off than Kieran? And when I do get the chance, I've just got to take him as much as I can. And tonight I thought I didn't do too bad.
You didn't. You've got to be patient, though, haven't you?
Yeah, it's all about patience. I've got time on my side. Well, I'm only 20, so as long as I'm full time, playing 17 every week, I'm more than happy.
Well, Kieran's going to have to work to get his place back now. Well done.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Nice young man, Christine Hadcroft of Lee. That's quite appropriate, because it is Lee that Mickey Hyam came from to St Helens. What a performance from him. What a performance from St Helens. Let's take nothing whatsoever away from the champions' performance here tonight, but Warrington, frankly, were absolutely abject and awful.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Super League side. I'm sure that Daniel van der Velde, well, he'll want to throw himself off the cliff. A lot of the players really did not stand up and be counted. They really did not play with any sort of pride. Definitely no skills. But, as Eddie's mentioned, St Helens, very professional indeed. They played as a unit, they played as a team. The team spirit here is absolutely outstanding. And in the young Mick Hyam, what a great player of the future. Very, very level-headed young sort of a fella there, and I tell you what, this guy's going to go places.
Yes, he is going to go places. We're going to go places now. We're going down to the pitch side and joining Phil Clark. Phil, it doesn't matter who puts on the St Helens jerseys. They come up trumps week in, week out.
They certainly do, yeah. Fantastic experience too for the young guys to come in and play at that level. Great for later in the season, should Ian Millwall get any injuries come in the playoff time, so they've all had that chance of playing with the other guys, and tremendous pace there from Mickey Hyam to go the length of the field. Anytime with speed like that, he's always going to do well.
Well, they've done brilliantly tonight. Well done, the Saints. Don't forget to join Phil, who's got a busy old weekend, and Chris Warren in the morning at 9:30, Sky Sports 1, for the Roosters against the Northern Eagles. Our second visit to Australia this weekend. Next Friday at 8:30 on Sky Sports 1, International Rugby League, the Kiwis taking on the Aussies, and of course the Paul boys involved for New Zealand, Henry and Robbie of Bradford. And we're back here again next Friday for another 5-star performance from St Helens, maybe. They're up against the Leeds Rhinos, 7:30, Sky Sports 3. It's been a breathtaking night if you are a St Helens fan. If you're a Warrington supporter, this one will last as long as they pull the first pint in the pub. From us both, goodbye. Wellens back to Stankovic. Oh, this is too easy. Wide to Tommy Martin. Wide to Sean Hoppy. They're in it. Wellens, again, high tackles, Sculthorpe's in again. By then. Don't forget to join us in the morning. Phil Clark, Chris Warren want your company from 10:30 for the State of Origin. From Steve and me, goodbye. Test of this St Helens defence. Grimaldi is over.